The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris Brown. I'm the New Jersey Chapter Professional Development Officer, the Planning Webcast Series Coordinator, and a planner for the City of Hoboken. It's now 1 p.m., so we'll begin our presentation shortly. Today's August 23rd webcast will be the Green Building and Environmental Sustainability Element Tool, sponsored by the APA chapter of the great state of New Jersey. For help during today's webcast, please feel free to type your questions into the chat box located down at the right-hand corner of your screen, or call 1-800-263-6317. For content questions, please feel free to type those into the questions box, and we'll be able to answer them during the Q&A segment at the end of the presentation. Here's a list of the sponsoring chapters, divisions, and universities whom I'd like to thank for making the making the Planning Webcast series possible. We have quite a few webcasts scheduled for the remainder of summer into fall. To get a complete listing of the webcasts, please visit www.utahapa.org webcast and register for your webcast of choice. We're now offering distance education webcasts to help you get your ethics and law CM credits. These webcasts are available to view at www.utahapa.org webcast archive. You can follow us on Twitter or like us on Facebook to receive up-to-date information on the Planning Webcast series as sponsored by chapters, divisions, and universities. Recently, we created a YouTube channel, so if you go to YouTube and search for Planning Webcast series, you will find all of our previous broadcast webcasts online. To log your CM credits for attending today's webcast, please go to www.planning.org/CM, select today's date, August 23rd, then select today's webcast, Green Building and Environmental Sustainability Element Tool. This webcast is available for 1.5 CM credits. Today's webcast is being recorded and will be available on Monday along with a 6-slide per page PDF at www.utah.apa.org webcast archive. And at this time, I'd like to introduce today's panelists. Donna Drews is a professional planner with over 30 years experience in sustainable development and natural resource management planning. Ms. Drews has worked as professional planning consultant in the private sector and for both public agencies and non-government organizations. Her experience includes extensive work in the development of regional watershed plans, community sustainability planning, as well as rural and environmental resource management issue. Since 2004, Ms. Drews has been with the College of New Jersey and currently serves as the co-director of the Sustainability Institute. The Institute administers the Sustainable Jersey Municipal Certification Program, a hugely successful state-level effort to engage communities in advancing sustainable development by providing clear guidance, training, community building, and financial incentives. Angela Clerico is a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey, a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, and a lead accredited professional, holding a Bachelor of Science degree from Keene State College and a Master of Urban and Environmental Planning from the University of Virginia. She is currently a senior planner with Natural Systems Utilities, a sustainable water management company that plans, designs, builds, owns, and operates on-site ecologically based water systems. Angela's focus with NSU is on sustainable land use planning and community development in New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. Angela is a member of the New Jersey chapter of the APA and is currently co-chair of the chapter's Sustainability Committee. Elizabeth Mcmanus is a professional planner with 11 years of planning experience, including appointment as the planning consultant to New Jersey planning boards and zoning boards. Ms. McManus's municipal experience includes preparation of green building and environmental sustainability plan elements, comprehensive master plans and redevelopment studies, natural resource inventories, affordable housing plans, land use and zoning ordinances, site plan, subdivision, and D-variance application reviews. Ms. McManus's private sector experience includes the preparation of expert planning testimony in support of variance and rezoning applications. She is a lead accredited professional signifying her knowledge of the LEED building benchmark system and green building techniques. Her expertise in environmental and sustainability planning is further evidenced by her experience preparing natural resource inventories, green buildings, and environmental sustainability master plan elements and park and recreation planning. Ms. Mcmanus also has a special expertise in affordable housing planning. Teri Jover is the Managing Director of New Jersey Future, a nonprofit, nonpartisan research and planning organization that promotes smart growth in the Garden State. At New Jersey Future, Teri is responsible for overseeing the day-to-day operations of the organization, including grant management, communications, publications, and major events. She's also the lead staff member focused on local government and related planning issues, focusing on the areas of redevelopment and sustainability. She is currently the co-chair of Sustainable Jersey's Land Use and Transportation Task Force, which is responsible for developing new actions and guidance for the program, including the green building and environmental sustainability element. Teri holds a master's degree in city and regional planning from the Blaustein School of Planning and Public Policy at Rutgers University. She is currently serving as a member of the Highland Park Planning Board, chair of Sustainable Highland Park, and on the executive committee for downtown New Jersey. And with that said, I will hand it over to our first presenter, Ms. Donna Drews.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, and we look forward to doing this presentation for you. What I'd like to do first is to provide a little context for how the sustainability planning initiatives throughout the state of New Jersey have been really the result of a really unique and collaborative partnership over the last few years. Sustainable Jersey program is a municipal government certification program that really seeks to drive local governments to achieve sustainability in a wide number of areas. We use our certification program as the major focal point or way to move forward with advancing communities. Why we think this is important is that communities really want to have a clear direction and insight on how to move forward. So by using a certification-based model, which provides clear guidance, technical support, funding, and resources to communities, we think that we're able to advance community sustainability on multiple levels. Probably some of the most important components of our program, and really that speaks to the heart of our webinar today, is the collaborative efforts that we've used to link resources, both of organizations like New Jersey American Planning Association as well as other important collaborative partners to really help advance and drive what are the best practices that we want communities to be doing around sustainability planning and plan development, and providing tools and resources to our communities. One of the other components that we had to start addressing with our certification-based program, because we use the word sustainable development, is we have to be very clear that while our program builds off of best practices and recognizes the tremendous amount of work that's taking place throughout the United States that's advancing sustainability, we do have to reinforce, because of some of the anti-planning agenda initiatives going on and Tea Party initiatives that are attacking sustainability planning and planning in general, we are always clear to say that this is a New Jersey-based program that's consensus-driven. And we really want our communities to move forward with a program that they feel comfortable with.
Hi, Donna. I'm sorry. Just before you get to the next slide, it's Chris. We're getting some comments that people aren't able to hear your audio. So if you can speak into your audio device just a little bit closer, that'd be great.
Okay. I am speaking directly into my phone, so I will try to speak a little louder. So with the Sustainable Jersey program as the driver for municipal sustainability, I just want to share with you a little bit of why we think this is a great model that can help communities move forward. Our program was initially began development in 2007, and right now we have 375 of our 565 municipalities in the state of New Jersey who are participating in our program. Our program relies on communities actually implementing actions and submitting specific standards and documents that we then verify meet the standards in our program, which you'll hear a little bit about later. We have 2 levels of certification currently with our program. Bronze is an entry level, and that most communities that have been advancing sustainability practices in their communities for a number of years really can be successful at the initial level of certification in our program. We're especially proud of our silver level communities, and those in fact are communities, when we look at their records of performance, have taken on the deeper dive of looking at and supporting the development of sustainability plans in their communities. When our program moves forward, what we found at the very beginning, that it was critical to have very clear guidance on what communities need to do in order to meet our standard, and to provide training and tools and resources to help them. And as importantly, our program seeks to link grant funds. So in fact, the Sustainable Jersey Small Grant Program has in fact funded the development of a wide range of sustainability-based plans, both overarching and master plan elements in the state of New Jersey. So as a planner, I kind of joke sometimes that the Sustainable Jersey program is a somewhat full employment program when communities have programs and resources to direct towards advancing their sustainability agenda. We look to have planning and planning professionals support the development of ordinances, plans, programs, and policies that really will drive sustainability in communities. We focus on all the areas that traditionally communities are thinking about with sustainability, and we use the language of people, prosperity, and planet to drive those core concepts home. But within our program, and where our partnership with New Jersey APA really took off over 2 years ago, is by the development of the content for our program. This is done through the development of a large number of task forces that are shepherded or umbrellaed under what we call our Sustainable Communities Working Group. We have partners from a wide range of organizations. Professional organizations are extremely important to providing content to our program. We are especially happy that there's these partnerships and organizations have stepped up of content for our program. APA, I apologize for the graphic, actually has been, when we started our partnership with them over 2.5 years ago, to develop some guidance for communities around sustainability plans at a municipal level. We started where most professionals in New Jersey and throughout the United States were at the time, trying to wrap our head around the various entry points for communities to initiate sustainability planning documents and programs in their communities. We, through our program, actually have 2 major entryways, although there's multiple sub-areas that I'll explain in a moment. So what we'd like to do is suggest that communities and allow communities to come in whichever way they feel comfortable. So if a community decides to develop what we call an overarching municipal sustainability plans that may link, and hopefully will link if it meets our standards, all the other planning documents and programs within a municipal context that are organized or controlled by municipal governments into an overarching plan that has visions and goals, standards, actions, and an implementation plan which will guide a community forward. But we can currently recognize that some communities choose to enter sustainability and sustainable development planning arena by first addressing updates to their master plan or through the development of a climate action plan. So what we've done with our program is to try and, while we focus communities on 2 kind of focal entry points, we give them the flexibility to implement specific actions that have standards and a review protocol to them that support communities on their path to sustainability. So within our community sustainability, or that more overarching community sustainability plan, we set forth kind of a 5-step process that we'd aspire for communities to undertake. So we support communities and encourage them to do asset mapping, community vision, and as you can see from the slide, that we have 21 communities that have met our standard for visioning, and that's a really important component for the community to step back and go through that exercise of defining where they want to be and how that relates to sustainability principles. We ask them to go forward then and articulate very clear goal statements and objectives, develop targets and indicators, and then link all that and, to an action plan that really can guide their community to move forward. Those plans also should identify how sustainability principles that are broad-based and apply throughout the community should be integrated into the functional plans in a community. The other component area that allows communities to start addressing sustainability is through the master planning or comprehensive planning process. In New Jersey, Angela is going to talk a little bit in a few minutes about a specific master plan element that was added, which is called the Green Building and Environmental Sustainability element. But we also currently have in our program and encourage communities to do other functional planning areas, such as the open space, farmland, the bike ped plans, and the completion of natural resource inventories. Another strong area where we've seen some communities and the great leadership and technical guidance that's available nationwide to support communities to implement climate action plans is something that we'd like our communities also to incorporate and consider in both their overarching community sustainability plan and to potentially incorporate those elements into the green building and environmental sustainability element. And we're really happy to have two very innovative new areas where we're advocating for communities to think about sustainability that deal with wildlife interaction plans as well as companion animal management, which there are really probably not many communities throughout the United States that have thought about these issues in a comprehensive way, but we do think those are emerging areas of sustainability planning that communities need to be moving forward with. So when we wanted to go forward and provide clear guidance to our communities about sustainability planning and how to do that with a master plan element, it was through the great leadership, actually, the New Jersey APA chapter and their Sustainability Planning Committee, that we were able to develop very clear guidance that supports communities to know that they address the right areas, that the resources that they're using and the guidance that's available is helpful to communities moving forward. So at this point, I'm done my part of the presentation, and Angela Clerico is going to speak to the issues around the municipalities and what they can do. Okay.
Great. Thanks,
right.
Donna. And I'll just show my screen here. And if anyone has any trouble hearing my audio, please let Chris know. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the New Jersey Chapter Sustainability Committee and the role it had with creating the guidance for sustainability plans in New Jersey. As Donna said, the APA New Jersey was part of that initial Sustainable Communities Working Group, and we continue to participate on various task forces that are continually trying to improve the Sustainable Jersey program by updating criteria and things like that. Specifically, we sit on task forces like the Land Use and Transportation Task Force, Natural Resources, so we really try to cover as many bases as we can. Our Sustainability Committee, there's two co-chairs, myself and Jeff Perlman, who I don't think is on the call today, but we have about 30 people on our immediate committee, which is about a mix of state and county and local representatives, planning professionals, and folks with backgrounds in architecture and landscape architecture. So again, we try to kind of hit that wide range of professions. The committee was formed in 2007, and it really was about the time that sustainability was becoming more prevalent in community conversations, and as green building and the LEED rating system were taking shape. Our mission is first and foremost to promote smart planning. In years past, traditional planning really focused more in silos of the built environment and the natural environment and the idea of function over form. And our Sustainability Committee really promotes looking at the built and natural environments as integrated, and as each of those needing the other one to create more livable communities. So really going beyond the physical environment, the Sustainability Committee promotes horizontal and vertical relationships also of the social environment. So ideally, when that happens, you have support at all levels for sustainability in your community, in your state, whatever the case may be. In 2008, and this goes back to creating this green building and environmental sustainability plan element, which, for lack of a better term, or for ease of calling it, of giving it a name, we'll just call it the Sustainability Plan. It's quite a long name. So in 2008, the New Jersey Municipal Land Use Law was amended to include language for sustainability under the section that enables a municipality to adopt a comprehensive master plan. And it outlines the required and optional elements to be included in the master plan. The Sustainability Committee was involved in helping to craft that section of the Municipal Land Use Law, which permits this new sustainability plan element as part of a comprehensive master plan. So here's a look at what New Jersey's Municipal Land Use Law, that particular section, looks like. Specifically, it states that as part of a comprehensive master plan, that the sustainability plan can provide for, encourage, and promote efficient use of natural resources, installation and uses of renewable energy systems, consider the impact of buildings on the local, regional, and global environment, allow ecosystems to function naturally, conserve and reuse water, treat stormwater on site, and optimize climatic conditions through site orientation and design. So this includes many factors of a sustainable community, but what we found over time and in going through the process of creating this, this guidance document and tool, that there are some emerging issues that aren't included here. In particular, urban agriculture is something that's come up as part of a sustainable community, which isn't specifically referenced here, but we've provided guidance on that. Waste management is another area that is emerging in terms of going beyond recycling, so community composting and things like that. So we've provided guidance on some of those issues. But working with this language specifically, the APA New Jersey chapter decided to create a guidance document that would help New Jersey planners and local officials really understand what the sustainability plan element might look like. Because when we read this language, we said, well, communities are going to want to know how exactly to craft this so that it's meaningful for their community. So as the process started, and Donna sort of touched on this, it became apparent that there were probably many different ways that we could have approached going about even creating this guidance document. So what we knew was that there were communities that weren't maybe not ready to, whether it was politically or financially, to take on this kind of plan. So the Sustainability Committee decided that we wanted to offer options to all New Jersey municipalities. So rather than, as Donna said, taking on a whole comprehensive sustainability plan, we wanted to look at all of the elements of a comprehensive master plan that a town could implement, and say they wanted to just take on their circulation plan element. Well, then we would provide guidance for them in terms of sustainability of how it could be infused into their circulation plan. And it was about this time, again, as Donna said, that we were working with the Sustainable Jersey program as they started gaining momentum, and they wanted to look at this issue as well. So we partnered to create essentially two versions of a guidance document. So one, which is this complete sustainability plan that follows this language of the Municipal Land Use Law, and another guidance document which offers sustainability language for each optional element of the master plan. Right now, that guidance document is going to be going to our executive committee for review with the New Jersey chapter very soon. So the process in starting this whole guidance document was setting up that initial working group, and we had about 18 people on that group, and representatives from state government, regional planning, research, environmental nonprofits, and other consulting planners that had different expertise in different areas. In preparing the draft, we wanted to first understand what was currently required of New Jersey municipalities through the Municipal Land Use Law and where sustainable components could fit in. New Jersey has a wide variety of municipalities, from very urban to very rural, and areas of high environmental sensitivity to sprawling neighborhoods. We pretty much have it all. So we also wanted to really understand the characteristics of communities throughout New Jersey and what their needs might be in terms of sustainability, because what was going to work in an urban community may not work in a rural community and vice versa. So subsequent then to finishing that guidance document, New Jersey released an updated state plan, the new state strategic plan, which is still in draft form. But in looking through it, it was really focusing on integration of natural resources in the built environment, economic growth in regional innovation sectors. So we wanted to be sure that the language in the guidance document was also in line with the measures proposed by this new state strategic plan. So at this point, Sustainable Jersey was developing their tool for their certification program, and we, the Sustainability Committee of the APA, was creating this guidance document for the optional master plan elements. And just to give you an idea of what those plan elements are, this is the listing from New Jersey's municipal land use law of all of the optional elements. So just to give you an idea of the breadth of topics we cover in this guidance document, obviously that one at the bottom, the Green Building and Environmental Sustainability Plan element, is the one that we're talking about today. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of what this guidance document will look like when it's finalized and published, and there are some similarities between the APA's guidance document and Sustainable Jersey's tool. The first thing is that we both felt that community should first define what sustainability means to them, because it's going to differ, as I said, in urban communities and rural communities. And similarly, the definition should easily lead to the vision of the community. The community, when preparing a sustainability plan, should ask the question, does our definition of sustainability actually get us to our vision? The planning process should lead to incentives for implementing sustainable practices, and whether that's through land use strategies to create smarter development or conservation of natural resources, the sustainability plan should set the stage for easy implementation of sustainable practices. Then once it's adopted and parts of it are being implemented, the sustainability plan should really provide language to make sure that beyond its implementation, that maintenance or monitoring, some of the measures put in place are also included in that plan. So the plan will really only be as good as its long-term implementation. So providing some sort of language in terms of how it's going to be monitored over time is particularly important. So then the guidance document goes into a bit more detail for each of the optional elements that I just showed you to describe exactly what concepts should be considered for the sustainability plan and why. We give a brief narrative about each of the different issues at hand, whether it's housing or circulation or recreation or utilities, why these things are important to consider in a more integrated fashion, and then what the key concepts are for municipalities to consider as they're updating their their planning documents. So we also included a lot of resources for municipalities to do their own research and to go further into these topics if they wanted to. So as I mentioned, the guidance document will soon be in the hands of our chapter's executive committee to review, and then we intend to publish it hopefully by October. So and Beth in a minute is going to talk a little bit more about how to get local support for a sustainability plan in your community. And that's all from me. So with that, I will send it over to Beth to talk about how to get one of these plans adopted in your community.
Okay, thank you very much. I presume everybody can hear me. Just getting my, sorry about that, getting my presentation on full screen. Okay. So thank you, Angela. As you said, I am going to go through a little bit more detail about preparing the element and getting community buy-in and input on it.
I think one of the first things that's important to do when you're preparing an element is to define sustainability. And this is something that Angela talked about, but I think it's absolutely critical. And it's often done at the time of preparing the element, but it's possible that it may have already been done during a previous visioning exercise. But it's important to do this early on because it's a great way to start the conversation about what sustainability means to a community. And this is important because it means different things to different groups of people, and I think it's therefore subject to being applied differently. In a sense, it's sort of like the term smart growth in that the same word can be applied in multiple ways. I think we've all seen the circumstance where one group of folks will apply smart growth principles to a property and say it should therefore be developed, say, with low density. A different set of folks will take those presumably very same smart growth principles, apply it to the property, and say that it should be developed with moderate density housing. Well, sustainability can be similar in that it can be applied differently, and that's why it's important to define the term. Doing so provides a framework for reviewing potential policies to determine if they do indeed advance sustainability as has been defined in that community. Now, the term has been defined a number of times. One of the most common is in a 1987 report from the UN, specifically the World Commission on the Environment, the Our Common Future report, but it's very often known as the Brundtland Report. And this document defines sustainability as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And there are actually a number of other definitions of sustainability that have been put forth by other organizations that is some variation of this. But a couple other sources to consider if you're looking for ideas for how to define it in your own community is the Natural Step. There are a set of 4 sustainability principles set forth by the Natural Step organization. And also our very own EPA has a definition of sustainability that you may want to take a look at. Now, many people know that there are 3 pillars of sustainability: the environment, economy, and equity. This is sometimes referred to as the triple bottom line, and it's also the same or similar as the language used by Sustainable Jersey that you just heard Donna speak about with people, prosperity, and planet. And it's important to determine early on whether the sustainability element is going to address one of these, 2 of these, or all 3. As you saw in Angela's slides just a few minutes ago, the New Jersey enabling legislation is actually geared very heavily towards environmental sustainability. However, there may be opportunity to more easily incorporate these other components into sustainability elements in other states. And then additionally, the economy and the equity sustainability components can also be addressed in other types of sustainability plans, perhaps a sustainable community plan, which is a municipal document with the flexibility to address a wider variety of topics, as well as, and you can also incorporate them into other master plan elements. Now, another way to think about the project scope is to consider priorities for the element. Sustainability it's a very broad topic, and one that can address all of these topics shown on your screen in great detail. And it's been my experience that defining priorities for this element can be absolutely critical. And this is simply because most projects have a limited budget and also a limited time allowance. And so it's simply not possible to fully explore all of these topics and stay within that set budget or complete the project within the funding period. And also, there may be issues that are of great importance to a community that as a result, the sustainability element has to give particular attention. But also, on the flip side, there may be other issues that either don't rise to that same level of importance, or the community simply has no jurisdiction over them. Regarding those topics that are of great importance, the sustainability element can also be used to set the stage, including project scope and timing, for another planning report, which can be used to address the topic in great detail, especially when there are details which may not be appropriate for the sustainability element. So consider, for example, the element can be used to state the need and also the challenges to improve pedestrian and bicycle accessibility. And then at a later point in time, a circulation element or perhaps an accessibility study can be used to provide the inventory and detailed recommendations necessary to implement improvements to enhance that pedestrian and bicycle accessibility. Similarly, the element could be used to set the stage for a green infrastructure plan that details specific policies, such as those for green streets and also green roofs. And then the last example I'll give is using the element to set the stage for a greenhouse gas inventory and or climate action plan. Now there are two ways, and this has been alluded to already in the previous presentations, but two ways to prepare the element. You can do a standalone element or part of a comprehensive plan when there are a number of other master plan elements being prepared at the same time. When the sustainability element is prepared as a standalone element where there are no other master plan elements being prepared at that time, this can be used to craft policies related to sustainable development for insertion into other master plan documents at a later date. So, for example, policies promoting bikeability, green jobs, and center-based development can be later inserted into the circulation, the economic development, and the land use element, respectively. And if desired, the element can be organized to specifically identify which policies should be incorporated into the other elements. Now, when it's prepared as part of a comprehensive master plan, the sustainability element can provide organizing principles for the master plan that are consistent with the community's definition of sustainability. These organizing principles can provide a foundation for many of the policies that lie ahead in the other master plan elements. Now, master plans, particularly before sustainability elements became popular, sometimes included these organizing principles stemming from the conservation element. And if you're familiar with that concept, well, this is very much the same. It's just relying upon a different master plan element. Now, I think there's likely to be some overlap between the elements, but this is actually very similar to what might already exist. So, for example, I think there are circumstances already where we have economic development elements stating the need for, say, rezoning, or stating the need for additional land to facilitate growth of a particular industry. And then the land use element following up with a recommendation to rezone said land. Another example is the conservation element stating the need to protect environmentally sensitive areas as defined therein, and the open space and recreation plan following up with recommendations of an open space purchase in a particular area. And on a side note, I think there's been some talk that a sustainability element is not a necessary part of the master plan. And I think that's because when prepared properly, sustainability should already be weaved into every master plan element to the extent appropriate. But I want to address that for one moment. While a sustainability element is not the only way to achieve these sustainability goals, there are some advantages to having it as part of the master plan. And where other master plan elements are not being prepared, doing a sustainability element affords an opportunity to address aspects of sustainability across an array of topics, across a variety of master plan topics. It also creates one location in the master plan, which can be a very voluminous document for policies related to sustainable development, including those that may be addressed in other elements, and it therefore makes an easy reference for sustainability policies within the community. And then lastly, it creates a vehicle for asking questions in a public setting relating specifically to sustainable development. And this may be particularly important because it may just be the first time those questions have been asked to the public. Now, throughout the early work of scoping the project and throughout the project itself, it's important to involve the community. And I think that community input is particularly important in the early parts of the project where we're discussing the scope and the element priorities. I've actually had a lot of success where, in conjunction with the project subcommittee, a survey was used to ask residents and business owners what sustainability topics are most important to them and most relevant to their community. In those instances, the project subcommittee actually partnered with the town's environmental commission to post the survey online and in various places throughout the community, and then also create an opportunity for folks to complete the survey at a town fair. And I found that this survey was really the best way for the project subcommittee and I to determine how to best allot that limited time and effort such that it really reflected the priorities of the community, and the sustainability element truly represented what aspects of sustainability was most important to them. And of course, the need for continued participation and project updates are important for the sustainability element, just like they are for any other master plan document. And I think regardless of whether the plan addresses one or all three pillars of sustainability, it's important to prepare the element, which is obviously a public document, in such a way that it's not in a vacuum and it has adequate public input on the recommendations contained within it. Now, Angela just a few minutes ago talked about including incentives and monitoring policies in the element, and I think that's really important, but I'm not going to go into any additional detail on that. Instead, I want to take this last section of my presentation and briefly review a sample of some of those topics that can be addressed in a sustainability element, and you may want to consider for your own communities. The first one is energy production, specifically renewable energy production, whether it's solar, wind, geothermal, etc. This has become a major planning issue in just about every part of the United States. The sustainability element is an opportunity to craft policies identifying if or where, or perhaps under what conditions, energy production as a principal use is appropriate. It's also an opportunity to determine if or where they may be appropriate as accessory uses. So consider rooftop solar and also small wind turbines, just as a couple examples. We can also use the sustainability element to talk about energy conservation and to promote it within the buildings and the communities, including methods such as passive design. And in terms of land use, vehicle miles traveled, which is total miles traveled within a given period, whether that's daily or annually, is a really good vehicle, no pun intended, for evaluating land uses. So for example, we can use the sustainability element to ask the questions, are land uses integrated or are they separated such that residents must drive for all of their daily services? And then also, does the community have a compact form that encourages walking and biking? And if no, what policies can the sustainability element use to promote this? Also, encouraging infill and redevelopment in compact areas, particularly downtown locations, is key to sustainability in that it promotes an efficient use of previously developed spaces, and it also discourages development of greenfield sites. And policies to promote brownfield cleanup and redevelopment can also be incorporated into this discussion. We're located in a compact, walkable setting. It also offers the opportunity to promote enhancing walkability, density, and potentially the availability of services within that community. And of course, the flip side to promoting all of this infill, redevelopment, and density is recommending preservation of those lands that are environmentally sensitive and also those that are best used for open space and recreation. Agricultural policies can also be considered, depending on the type of community. Policies to support large-scale agriculture may be important and may be appropriate, and if so, this can be done through farmland preservation policies. But for those areas with more suburban or urban character, supporting urban agriculture may be most appropriate. And for urban ag, consider policies that include not only permitting and promoting local food production like community gardens, but also distribution, including things like farm stands and farmers markets. Another topic is waste reduction and recycling, and the sustainability element can be used to recommend public-private partnerships to increase the amount of recycled materials and also the number of the types of recyclable materials, and also recommending policies that are geared at ensuring there are adequate recycling facilities on both residential and commercial properties, just to make sure that recycling is easy and convenient. In terms of water resources, there are a number of topics, but one of them is green infrastructure, and this is a topic in and of itself, I suppose, but discussing it and recommending inclusion within the community's infrastructure, physical infrastructure, and also planning policies is right for the sustainability element. And just a couple topics included under this heading are rain gardens, green roofs, and also green streets. And can be also used to talk about impervious cover, to create policies recommending how to limit impervious cover and also where to promote pervious cover in developed areas, including techniques such as pervious pavers and pervious pavement. You can also consider discussing conservation watering, including such topics as irrigation versus sprinklers and or the use of gray water. And also consider what policies would reduce the need for watering, perhaps through a reduction in permitted lawn area and or promoting native and adaptive plants. Transportation, of course, is central to any discussion about sustainability. I think we've all heard a lot about that. And so we can use the sustainability element to start the conversation and promote policies for improvements such as those related to complete streets, bike storage, and also multi-use paths and mass transit facilities, including not only right-of-way for mass transit, but also structures such as bus shelters, supporting structures such as bus shelters. And obviously, green building design is a great topic for the element. A sustainability element can be used to provide policies in support of requiring green building design to the extent permitted by other applicable laws, and or to encourage green building design through education and through incentives to developers. And just a quick recommendation, I think that the various green building certification programs, such as just a couple of them that I put up on the screen here, are a great place to look for guidance on green building design, but also guidance on almost any other sustainability topic that you might consider for the elements. The sustainability element can also be used to promote equal access to jobs and services through the economy topic, and it can also be used to promote green industries within the community. Equity can be addressed in the element through providing the community with equal access to transportation facilities, including mass transit, affordable housing, and education facilities. And then lastly, equity can be incorporated by simply ensuring that there's adequate community participation throughout preparation of the plan and through the adoption process. Now, I know that this is just a brief sample of some of the sustainability topics, but I wanted to just give some ideas for the scope of the master plan elements. And now I'm actually going to turn it over to Teri Jover to talk about some of New Jersey's success stories.
Thank you, Beth. Sorry, I had a little technical glitch there, and let me just launch my presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm calling from the state capital of New Jersey, and I represent New Jersey Future as a partner in the Sustainable Jersey program that Donna mentioned early on in our presentation this afternoon. And I serve as chair of the Land Use and Transportation Task Force that we've heard mentioned. And my role in this presentation this afternoon is to talk a little bit more specifically about what towns are doing in New Jersey, what plans have been adopted. And I come to this topic as a reviewer of these plans for the Sustainable Jersey program and basically have the opportunity to review some of these early on. So what we'll be doing is providing a snapshot of what towns have been adopting plans and some unique elements and aspects of those plans that you can use in your work. Very briefly, I'll just mention the adoption of a green building and environmental sustainability element is an action within the Sustainable Jersey program that qualifies for points. And I just wanted to let you know that the guidance that a document that actually relates very closely to the one that Angela described that the New Jersey chapter of the APA developed. We worked on this together, and so the guidance document for Sustainable Jersey is available online at the Sustainable Jersey website, and you can see there's a long trail of clicking you have to take in order to find it, but it is there, and I encourage you to look at it because it states pretty straightforward what, as a reviewer, what the program is looking for in one of these elements. And it expresses what to do, how to do it. It suggests a format for that follows very closely what Angela described. And it articulates mandatory and optional topics that must be covered in the plan, as well as what specifically to submit in order to get points. And I should mention that that format is the same that's used throughout the Sustainable Jersey program. So I encourage you to kind of click through and see what other aspects might be of interest. As I mentioned, the program articulates specific criteria that must be used as part of the review in order to get points. And the mandatory topics that we're looking for involve discussion of climate change and greenhouse gas emissions, renewable energy, green building and design, land use and mobility, and water. 4 of those are expressly articulated in the legislation that authorizes the adoption of these sustainability elements. Land use and mobility, while not specifically articulated through the consensus process, we felt it was important and critical to achieving the element, and in fact, when looking at all the plans that we've received to date prior to adopting the guidance, all of them addressed land use and mobility, so we felt like we were it was a reasonable requirement. Optional examples I would mention are food systems and waste management, and I mention them because we think they're important, but also because many towns have on their own decided that they're important, and we suggest them as optional elements, and I believe Angela touched on that earlier. So I'll move on. Specifically now, I'd like to look at 5 communities in New Jersey and kind of just cast a spotlight on them. I should mention, if you go back to a couple of slides ago where I showed you that long link to the guidance document, you can find links to these specific plans for Cherry Hill, Lawrence, Woodbridge, Flemington, and Hamilton, as well as a few others. So I encourage you to backtrack and find your way to those plans after we get off this conference call. I should mention that many of these plans were adopted, actually I believe all of these plans were adopted prior to our guidance document being available. So that was just released in February of this year. So some of these plans may not necessarily conform to the format we're suggesting through the program. However, we feel that they have a lot to be learned from, and they're mentioning here today. So I'll start off here with Cherry Hill. This plan is organized into 4 categories, primarily land use, transportation, energy, and waste. In this case, as just a side note, they don't really explore water issues, and that's now one of our required elements. However, it's an interesting case to discuss in that it's a kind of a hybrid approach. Back to what both Donna and Beth mentioned earlier, it's a hybrid in that it basically starts out almost like a community-wide sustainability plan, looks at their kind of baseline greenhouse gas emissions, has indicators and targets along with an action plan to basically have certain goals met within each of those categories, which follows the format for a community overarching sustainability plan. However, this plan was adopted as an element of its master plan. So that makes it kind of an interesting case to consider. I'll just move on to Lawrence Township in Mercer, and I should put a nod to Beth, who spoke prior to me, in that she is the primary author of this plan as a consultant to the community, and also 2 other plans that I'll be discussing in a moment, both Flemington and Hamilton as well. So if you have any specific questions about those plans, know that she's on the line and might be able to answer those. But what's interesting about Lawrence Township is both the composition of the community. It's adjacent to Trenton, the state capital, so it has very urban components, but it also has kind of traditional suburban residential, and it also has some agricultural and other more rural components to the community. And so it's a unique type of place in that it's a microcosm for sustainability issues across all those different typologies. And in this case, their plan really does cover all of the mandatory topics that we discussed earlier, plus the additional of waste reduction and recycling. And what's interesting in terms of the format of the plan, as you can see a little sample excerpt at the bottom there, they establish goals, objectives, and strategies under each of those topic areas, and it serves almost like a to-do list or a checklist for the community, especially as they're going through master plan revisions, other elements in the future. It almost has a to-do list for what should be incorporated into those elements at the time that they are actually updating them. So that's one strategy. By having the standalone document, you've got kind of your blueprint for how to make sustainable all of your planning elements within your community. Moving on to Woodbridge Township in Middlesex County. It's an older suburban community in central New Jersey. They divide the plan amongst 5 critical areas: community development, land use, landscapes, ecology, energy, water, materials, and resources. And they use this document also as an opportunity to give a progress report as to kind of all the sustainability initiatives that the community is undertaking through its Greenable Woodbridge initiative. So I encourage you to take a look at this plan, if only just to get a sense for what a town who's really on the roll with this stuff can do. And they are one of the silver certified communities that Donna mentioned earlier through the Sustainable Jersey program. So they're a real energetic township in New Jersey. And I'm just calling out one particular tool that they mentioned in their element, which is the adoption of a green building scorecard as part of their site plan review. So here they touched on a tool that basically allows them to insert a dialogue with applicants for development to try to incorporate sustainable design techniques into these projects. So again, I encourage you to backtrack into the Sustainable Jersey website and find this plan and take a look at some of the innovative things that they've done. Moving on to Flemington, New Jersey, Hunterdon County, another one of Beth Mcmanus's projects. This particular community articulates upfront 9 goals along with some objectives and implementation strategies in the first few pages of the document. I call this one out in that they are one that did have a goal for local food production. So if that's an area of interest, you might want to check out this plan. And they also call out a complete streets approach as a community implementation technique that they should consider. So you have a mixture of interesting elements included in this plan. So last but not least, I'll just briefly talk about Hamilton Township in Mercer County. It's also a very large community here adjacent to Trenton. And what's really interesting about this element is that it is actually included in and was put up front and center in its overall master plan, comprehensive master plan for the community. And you can see section 2 is the green buildings and environmental sustainability element. So this community has used the element as a kind of organizing principle for its comprehensive master plan. So that is kind of an interesting approach that might bear taking a look at in more detail. So I'm going to wrap up at this point to allow some time for questions and answers. We thank you for your time and look forward to your questions. And you have here our contact information, and we encourage you to contact us or visit our website, send us an email if you have any other questions after the call.
Thank you, Teri. And yeah, we're going to get to the question and answer portion of our webcast in a moment. Thank you to all of our panelists for your excellent presentations. Daniel Pace asks, who are the 10 silver municipalities? And that question was asked during Donna's presentation.
Oh boy. I am not going to be able to roll them off the top of my head, but if you go to the Sustainable Jersey website, we have a list of all our certified communities and their status. But I can say off the top of my head, Woodbridge is our sustainability champion in the large municipality size. they've been, like we've been mentioned earlier, a leader in advancing sustainability. The other way that I'll just point out that if you go to the Sustainable Jersey website and click on participating communities, all our certified communities are highlighted on a map with pincushions, and you can click on the municipalities. It identifies the status of the communities, what actions they've implemented, and you can actually search for certified communities that have adopted the various types of plans that we've mentioned today. So when we update our PowerPoints and provide them to APA, I'll make sure to include a list of our 10 silver communities in that documentation.
Okay, thank you, Donna. And actually, the next question also goes out to you. Can you briefly explain what wildlife interaction plan and companion animal management plan are, and how are they different from each other? And that comes from Richard Kenya.
Sure. Basically, wildlife interaction plans really where we seek to help communities to develop and implement practical community-based approaches that foster positive human-wildlife interactions, but also resolve wildlife conflicts for specific species. So what we ask communities to do is to think about all the different opportunities and solutions that they could use to balance wildlife management issues as well as communities' needs. So where we see a lot of communities in New Jersey thinking about this area and just starting to develop plans, it does revolve around wildlife management issues like geese management, deer management. We have issues around bears and other wildlife species in New Jersey. So our plan standard looks for developing clear criteria for community interaction and participation in the development of these plans, and asking communities to think about that going forward, and really with the goal to reduce the problems from human-wildlife interface and interaction. The companion animal management plans really look to communities to deal and develop plans that establish humane, efficient, and effective solutions for companion animals. So specifically here we're talking about dogs and cats, and we really look to build off actually some of the great work that's been going on in Calgary and with establishing a framework for municipal government planning and issues related to companion animals that looks at quality of life issues. Are we including and thinking about public health issues, social and recreational issues related to companion animals and human-animal interactions, and how do we alleviate those conflicts and plan appropriately in our communities? So the basic distinction is one, companion animals, cats and dogs, and the other is all other wildlife.
Awesome. Thank you, Donna. And the next question actually was, I believe, asked during Angela's presentation. What is the interplay? What about the interplay between affordable housing and sustainability elements? Say like requiring LEED or some other energy efficient requirements in housing? And that was asked by Aaron Kleinbaum.
Well, some of the examples that we had been looking at were from a group out in California called Enterprise, and they have a green communities sort of scorecard checklist for low-income and affordable housing. And so, you know, in terms of reducing energy costs and all utility bills, so any way that there could be water conservation, energy conservation, things like that, those types of things I think are more important to include in a sustainability plan for specifically talking about affordable housing. Also, as Beth mentioned, access to transportation, access to jobs, things like that. Wherever you're talking about affordable housing and sustainability, I think those are some of the more important aspects to consider.
Thank you, Angela. This next question comes from Richard Kenya, and I believe it was directed towards Beth. Are the programs, policies, actions, prescriptive, formulaic? Are the programs, policies, actions, are they prescriptive or formulaic, Or are they more like statement and separate documents that contain detailed formulas and cross-referenced with components of the green element? Does the element discuss or use carbon footprint as a critical component of analyses?
Okay, I think that's a really good question. Some of the sustainability elements I've prepared have not addressed carbon footprint or greenhouse gases. It's simply because it wasn't a topic the community felt comfortable engaging in at that time. They felt it was potentially politically controversial, and so they felt that they would rather address sustainability from the perspective which all community members could agree with and would not generate controversy. So, for example, where we're talking about vehicle miles traveled and the need to get people out of their cars, I mean, there's the reason to do it for the purpose of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but there are also a number of other benefits for that, such as improved health, better improved community appearance, and so on and so forth. So that's the perspective a number of my communities have taken, and they've chosen not to address greenhouse gases. But that being said, I think that it's certainly a good topic for the sustainability element to discuss. I think it is fantastic when you can couple the planning policies that address sustainability topics, like, for example, vehicle miles traveled, urban agriculture, and all of the others that I addressed. And if you can couple that with greenhouse gas inventory and targeted reductions as part of a climate action plan. So I think that's certainly something that communities should strive to. If that's a conversation that they're comfortable having, it has the potential to provide a stronger framework for review and for monitoring if you can couple it with those defined indicators and targets that may be done as part of a climate action plan. But I don't think it is an absolute necessity in preparing a sustainability element. I think if you take the case of Lawrence, where we identified goals, objectives, and strategies, there are other opportunities for municipalities to create defined measurement techniques in order for them to, which will help them advance their own sustainability goals, even if those defined measurement techniques are much softer, so to speak, such as providing ordinance amendments to permit a variety of housing types or ordinance amendments to require complete streets. So I don't think that there's a strict answer to the question, but there are certainly some advantages and disadvantages to going in either direction.
Awesome, thank you. The next question comes from William Allen. I am a resident of a city in New Jersey. My town is in the process of revamping its master plan and updating its zoning laws. They have also hired a firm to do a separate sustainability plan. Is this the best way to make a community sustainable? And that went to Beth as well.
Well, I think in part it depends on the scope of each of the documents. Generally speaking, I would think it's preferable to have one firm handling the perhaps variety of planning documents that are in preparation at any given time, just so that that firm has complete information on everything that is going on within the planning board or within the municipality, so that they know, for example, the firm preparing the sustainability element knows how, for example, a circulation element may be prepared and needs to know what policies need to be cross-referenced within the plan. But that being said, I've worked on municipal master plans where we've had consultants come in to work with us to prepare the other elements. And as long as there's full communication between all the parties involved, I think that creates an opportunity for having a fantastic work product at the end. But it just depends on full communication. I hope that answers the question.
No, that's great. Thank you, Beth. The next question comes from Darlene J. Question for Donna. Has Sustainable Jersey considered awarding points for Highlands documents, including water use and conservation management plans, or habitat conservation and management plans?
award points if communities adopt habitat conservation ordinances. And under the innovation category, we have actually provided points for communities that have submitted conservation plans. As far as for the water conservation element, we'd love to have a more robust set of actions focusing on water, but unfortunately for those of you that are from New Jersey, you realize that statewide we don't have the water supply master plan, which could be used to create really good and clear guidance for communities. So at this time in our program, the water elements in our program are more tactical or implementation based, and that's where we encourage communities to adopt water conservation ordinances, and also as a companion to that to undertake water conservation education in their communities.
Thank you, Donna. Another question that pertains to LEED. This one comes from George Williams. Another question along the lines of certifications: is LEED certification required for the preparation of a sustainability element?
I can take that. This is Beth. I don't think it's a required component. You know, I certainly, if you take a look at my credentials, I chose to go after my LEED AP when LEED was starting to become popular, simply because I wanted, you know, an opportunity to get to know the rating system and to signify knowledge of the rating system. But sustainability element is frankly, it's so much more. It can be so much more than just what the US GBESE has to offer, and so I don't think it's a requirement at all. And to be honest, I don't think it's. There are a lot of planners out there that are very good with sustainability and very good with green building practices specifically that haven't chosen to go after their LEED AP.
And if I could just jump in, this is Angela. I wanted to agree with Beth on that, and then also say that I feel that the LEED rating system, it could be a good guidance document as well for anyone wanting to look at sustainability in their community, because it does cover everything from green building to sustainable sites, to water, to energy. So, you know, if you're looking for some ideas of implementable actions in your community, you know, not to require LEED if that's not something that's right for your community, but definitely take a look at it for some ideas.
Yeah, and actually, I want to compliment what you said, Angela. Not just for folks that may not be fully familiar with the LEED system, take a look at not just LEED NC, which is new construction for new buildings, obviously, but take a look at LEED ND, neighborhood development, because I think that's very helpful for communities to evaluate how their communities function as it relates at the community level rather than just at the site level.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question comes from Doug Greenfield. What incentives at the municipal level have been effective in producing green buildings?
Sure, I'll start on that. This is Donna. Probably one of the strongest motivations that we've seen communities moving forward in advancing and producing green buildings have been financial incentives. Right now, it's very difficult. While we'd all like our development community to be building, quote, green buildings, there isn't a lot of new construction going on. So we're seeing it, as Doug from Jersey City is seeing, during the redevelopment process, there's some opportunities for communities to provide incentive and to encourage the use and the construction of green buildings. But where we see the strongest opportunity is, at least at this point in time, New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, through their Clean Energy Program, has a strong suite of funding mechanisms that can, and grants available that will underwrite the cost of a lot of the energy efficient building mechanicals, some of the construction elements that support green buildings.
Donna, this is Teri. Just to say more specifically in terms of municipal incentives that can be provided, the one that I've seen the most often are density bonuses for the creation of utilization of green building technologies and things. I know that's been used in a few places.
Yeah, one of the things I should point, well, I'm sorry, this is Donna. Just one thing to make clear. In New Jersey, it is illegal for municipalities to mandate development to, say, for example, LEED standards. We're not authorized under the municipal land use law to require that or mandate that. The only time that communities can specify standards related to or in support of green buildings, like LEED or other building programs, is that if a redevelopment project is being undertaken, and then we're allowed to incorporate standards there and incentives and things like that. So that's where we have our energy code, and some of the building codes are somewhat restrictive, and we're not allowed to mandate the use of an external standard under most of our development and planning rules.
This is Beth. I just want to add a couple more incentives that towns can consider. And unfortunately, Donna, you're right. We can't simply mandate green building, but we can offer incentives, and particularly when we're in redevelopment areas, because that gives the opportunity to give pilots to redevelopers, perhaps in exchange for doing their program in accordance with green building principles, or perhaps with a certification system, although there are certain complications that may arise when requiring that a developer go ahead and receive, for example, LEED building certification or another third-party certification. So there's an opportunity to offer tax incentives in the form of pilots, and also there's, as someone said, density incentives, but also height incentives that may be sufficient either in lieu of or something that has to be coupled with a density incentive. And there may be also an opportunity to offer an incentive for reduced parking, particularly in urban areas. The parking requirements may be able to be relaxed where there are green building requirements. And then also through marketing. If the municipality is willing to take a strong leading role in marketing and providing promotions for those buildings in the community that are built to green development standards, it may be in the form of promotional materials or through green awards, things like that. While they don't directly translate into funding in the way that a pilot would or the BPU funding would, it can create more buzz about a project and lead to perhaps increased rents.
Thank you. Really in-depth answer. The next question is, did communities either begin with or gather as part of their plan baseline, did communities either begin with or gather as part of their plan baseline data assessment, or if so or did, was there a predominant, if so and did. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got to the end and it just. I'm going to skip over that question. I'm going to go to the next one. In your public outreach, have you encountered much anti-Agenda 21 sentiment? And that comes from Howard Smith.
Yes. The reality is, in New Jersey, like throughout most of the United States, and actually this is something that New Jersey APA, along with a whole host of other planning organizations like New Jersey Future, where Teri sits, and our Sustainability Institute at the College of New Jersey, who's involved with Sustainable Jersey, we see very strong resistance and organized resistance at trying to strike down any communities that are trying to move forward with any type of sustainable development or sustainability initiatives in their community. What we've found is that if we mobilize and resource the community with experts to come in and counteract some of the public discourse, as well as bolster and support the local leaders who have the courage to stand up and say what they feel about the anti-planning agenda, that usually these communities have the resources and the will to move forward and continue to do and engage around sustainability issues. But it's something we continue to struggle with because it takes a tremendous amount of staff resources.
And this is Angela. I would say, too, that the APA national website has a great series of communications pieces which I believe they called their communications boot camp. A couple of the webinars there give some very good information about how to handle folks who are in opposition of sustainability or planning or smart growth or whatever the case may be. You know, if they come to meetings and try to derail your meetings, you know, how to handle those situations. And the thing that I found most common as a theme throughout that, how to handle folks like this, or, you know, just how to handle the meeting is, you know, those kinds of public meetings are an opportunity for everyone to air their thoughts. So whether they're positive or negative, you know, you're there to talk about a certain topic, and to keep focus and on point with that topic, and let folks who have opposition, you know, write it down, or, you know, put it up on a whiteboard or something, so that, you know, so their voices are heard. But to really keep your meeting on topic and on focus with what you were there to talk about. But I would recommend checking out the APA's communications boot camp to get more information on how to handle that in your community.
Okay, thank you. This next question comes from Eileen Benaira. Based on experience, do most communities either begin with or gather baseline data as part of their process?
Beth, do you want to handle that in developing sustainability plans?
Oh, sure. Sorry, I was just giving somebody else an opportunity. I think that a lot of municipalities start with baseline data in some but not all of the topics that relate to sustainability, and it really frankly depends on what I talked about earlier a little bit, which is budget and time. Gathering that baseline data can be an enormous expense, and in some instances can actually exceed what the municipality may otherwise anticipate paying, if they're using outside consultants, obviously. It can, in fact, exceed what they may anticipate paying for the sustainability element. I mean, to do a detailed and a meaningful, for example, greenhouse gas inventory or inventory of transportation and such, things that would give them that baseline that's necessary to create defined indicators and targets. It can be a pricey direction. However, that being said, a lot of municipalities, I think, are going ahead and trying to do that greenhouse gas inventory, or are trying to do those baseline studies, because it does give them ultimately a more meaningful element in that they can actually produce progress reports that give them defined measurements of how much of the goal has been achieved. So, for example, if it's reducing greenhouse gases by 20% by a particular year, they can provide documentation to the governing body or to their residents and their stakeholders that they've achieved 10% or 50% of their goal, and so forth. Or if it's a matter of increasing walkability, for example, they can indicate that they've gone from, say, 40 to 50% walkability throughout the community. So I think towns are trying to whenever they can, but ultimately, if it's just frankly not within the budget, I think it's important that towns at least start to get the policies in place, so that when, for example, there's an opportunity for capital improvements, whether it's a capital improvement to improve the municipal building, they've got the policies in place to indicate that it should be incorporating some or all green building principles. Or if it's a matter of doing road improvements, I think it's more important that they have simply a policy in place, so that they've got the guidance to know that that road should be, for example, a complete street. So I don't think that the inability or the lack of funding to do those baseline studies should hold up doing a sustainability element, but certainly if there's an opportunity to do the baseline studies first before going ahead and creating those goals and indicators, that's certainly a better way to go.
Awesome. Thank you, Beth. The next question comes from Jessica Giorgiani. Sustainable communities also need a healthy population. Why was this not a major topic as defined in the guidance document? Or should public health be integrated into land use, transportation, food, etc.?
I can address that a little bit, and maybe some folks can supplement. I think that I think the aspect of healthy population is really important to sustainability, and it's actually I think naturally intertwined with a lot of sustainability topics, whether it's said or not. I mean, it has to do with vehicle miles traveled, it has to do with agriculture and so on. I think that, you know, it's something that should be part of the sustainability topic, but I guess perhaps it wasn't a focus of my presentation. This is Beth, by the way, simply because we don't necessarily have the enabling legislation in New Jersey to take that extra step and start getting into public health issues as part of the master plan. But I think where there may be an opportunity in other states, that's certainly important. And there may also be an opportunity to use the sustainability element to set that foundation and set it up for doing a public health study as part of a community-wide plan, and use the sustainability element to provide the reasons why it's important.
Yeah, this is Teri. Just to follow up on what you said, Beth, the reason we didn't incorporate it in the Sustainable Jersey guidance materials that I ran through was exactly what you said, that we were trying to stay a little closer to the enabling legislation, and that the overarching community sustainability plans that Donna mentioned earlier certainly would it would be appropriate to talk about health and how that weaves into all the different areas.
Thank you both. All right, so we're coming towards our last few questions. Another question for Donna Drews. Does the Sustainable Communities Working Group include a representative from New Jersey Transit? And that comes from Stuart Boggs.
Yes, actually, the Land Use and Transportation Task Force, which actually Teri co-chairs on behalf of our organizations, has a large number of members from both New Jersey Transit, NJDOT, the transportation management agencies across the state have been active and very supportive participants in that. And actually, some of the leveraging that we speak about in our program, DOT actually was able to provide some of their consulting services to develop the bike PED plan inventory action in our program, as well as the bicycle and pedestrian plan guidance in our program. So that's where, by working with our state agencies and partners and other non-governmental organizations, we're able to bring more resources to the communities, and our next step is to really link more funding to communities that are participating in Sustainable Jersey so they get priority access to some of the funds available.
Thank you. Thank you. The next one comes from Eric Olson, and Eric's question is, could you provide examples for green building training resources for land use board members? That could be answered by anybody.
Well, right now I know if you go to the Sustainable Jersey under resources, for at least the state of New Jersey, there are some planning courses that have been run through the Rutgers Center for Green Building at Rutgers-Blaustein that specifically were targeting construction code officials and zoning board zoning officers to try and help them. At this point, the New Jersey Green Building Council has also done some training collaboratively with New Jersey APA to try and improve the knowledge and general awareness about green building standards for land use planning board members. So
I'll just mention the US GBESE too, Donna.
Right.
New Jersey has done some trainings over the last year or two, periodically.
And for those on the call who are located in New Jersey, the New Jersey Planning Conference this year is going to have a full day of lead review. So probably a little bit more than overall green building strategies, but for anyone who's interested in learning more about becoming a lead, well, they call it a lead GA now, a green associate. If you're looking to get that certification or just to learn more about the program itself, we'll have a full day of lead review on that Thursday. It's a first Thursday and Friday of November, I believe. But you can check the New Jersey APA website and get more information on that.
Great plug for the conference. Our next question comes from Richard Kenya. Did the state of New Jersey building codes adopt mandatory green building related requirements?
This is Donna. I'll jump in a little bit. I'm not an expert on this, but I do know some initiatives that are underway. Currently, the Rutgers Center for Green Building has been under contract with the Department of Community Affairs to develop some new codes and standards that DCA is working to incorporate into the New Jersey building codes. There's also an effort to try and address the building codes with some of the new and emerging green infrastructure technologies, because we have some inherent conflicts between our codes and some design best practices that we'd really like to see moving in New Jersey. And mostly as an aside, we can only dream of having building codes and standards that are as rigorous as, say, California has in New Jersey. That would be the ideal situation where it was just mandated in our codes to begin with. But at this point, we are working to chip away and incorporate and improve our standards.
Thank you. And the last question for the afternoon. I just read a relevant LinkedIn post as follows, and this comes from Howard Smith. Does anyone include anything like a Sustainable Community Development Committee as part of their MPO planning process? Anybody?
Sure. I guess,
I don't know.
you know, yeah. In New Jersey, in the way our framework for the Sustainable Jersey program is we do recommend communities create a sustainability committee, which would, we hope, link and partner with the master plans, or the planning board when they're developing their plans. So we would like them to partner and create and engage with their communities and their green teams when they're developing the plan.
Yeah, and this is Beth. I think it does work really well because, there are some questions that are specific to a sustainability element that need to be asked to the public, such as defining it and perhaps what those priorities are for the community plan. And I think it's best to try to vet some of those questions through a subcommittee and also use the subcommittee to get the word out to the public about the process and work with them and use perhaps one or two or perhaps all of the members as liaison to the community. And the subcommittee could be something that the mayor or a chairman of a planning board puts together, or it could be working with perhaps the Environmental Commission or one of the established committees within the community, the Environmental Commission or perhaps a green team that may already be in place in New Jersey for Sustainable Jersey.
Yeah, and this is Angela. I would say, too, that communities, and I know Sustainable Jersey supports this, look to partner with communities that are adjacent to each other. So, for instance, in my community, there were three small towns right next to each other, and we all partnered together to create one big green team. So we covered a little bit more of a regional area rather than just, our small little village of a town. So, that way we had a wealth of resources throughout these three communities rather than just one. So, and that was, we were each appointed by our own towns, but we all worked together. So.
Thank you. That was a great answer. That was also a great question. All right, so we've come to the end of our webinar this afternoon. For those of you still in attendance, thank you very much for staying with us. And I just want to go over some house cleaning business. To log your CM credits for attending today's webcast, please go to www.planning.org/CM. Today's date is August 23rd, and select today's webcast, the Green Building and Environmental Sustainability Element Tool. And this webcast is available for 1.5 CM credits. And yeah, this does conclude today's session. And I'd like to thank everyone again for attending, and I'd like to thank all of our panelists for being here with us today. This was a very informative webcast, and we're getting a lot of great reviews from participating attendees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone have a great afternoon.